What's up, JEFusion fans? This is Philip, and welcome back to another video. So, I want to talk about Gozyuger episode 29 because there are a lot of very important things happening in this episode. So, I really want to talk about this video today. Now, I will also talk about a lot of very important plot points in this episode. So, I would highly advise that you watch Gojuger episode 29 first before you come back to this video because again, there are going to be some spoilers. So again, make sure you catch up with the latest episodes before watching this video, otherwise enjoy. So, Gojuger episode 29 is basically a Ryugi focused episode, although there is a B plot that is more focused on Byakuya, but we'll talk about that in a sec. So, we start this episode off with Ryugi waking up like in the middle of the cafe Tegasword. He fell asleep on a table apparently, and he woke up like surrounded by trash apparently. So he was seemingly writing something. But so what happened in the dream is that Tegasword says goodbye to Ryugi and turns into stone as he would in the events of the movie. So, yes, episode 29 is actually connected to the movie, and we do confirm that the movie is connected to the show. It's not one of those one offs or like parallel dimension or like parallel world stories that aren't related to the show. So, again, uh, this episode happens after the movie, considering that Tegasword also loses his powers and something like that in the movie. So, realizing this, so Ryugi is horrified and distraught about what happened, and he isn't in focus. So, while he is not himself technically, he just suddenly goes out to buy eggs, and uh, Hoeru and Kinjiro are left wondering what happened, basically. However, Hoeru is suddenly alarmed when he smells that a Noan monster is nearby, so he and Kinjiro go and follow that track to investigate. So they find the hospitality no one monster who has basically captured people and turned them into flowers when they accept his hospitality. So Hoeru and Kinjiro decide to challenge this monster in a number one battle, and Hoeru dresses up as his butler persona from several episodes back. And if you actually think about it, he was never actually fired from that job, or at least never explicitly as we see. So maybe he just quit and went his own way. But nonetheless, he tried to use that butler persona, but to no effect. Kinjiro tries to offer boiled eggs to one of the guests, but he forcefully offers them, driving that customer, or rather that guest, away. So Sumeno suddenly comes in and joins this number one battle, but she technically does nothing. So I'm kind of disappointed for Sumino on that part. But yeah, uh, so we actually cut to the B plot of this episode, which involves Byakuya mostly, but he is accompanied by Mashiro. And they actually follow Reigushima, aka the Gray Eyed Man, the guy who kidnapped Oto's Sumino's little sister Oto, and turned her into a hostage. So again, at this point, we really don't know where Oto is because after her stint as Shinken dead, so uh, we remember that Fire Candle ambushes her, takes her Sentai ring, falls back into a coma, and then Rei suddenly disappears and kidnaps her once again. So Byakuya tries to convince Rei to return Oto, and he offers help. So Byakuya mentions some sort of disease or illness that Rei has been suffering from. That's why he offers help. But Rei pulls out his case for medication, a small case that contains his medicines, but he just throws it in front of Riko, saying that he doesn't need them anymore. And what we see next is that he pulls out a blank Sentai ring. Now, we have seen this before, so now in this episode, we actually find out what it does. So, they uses the blank Sentai ring and two other Sentai rings, the Magi Ranger ring and Zen Kaiger ring. So what he does is that he absorbs these two rings into his blank ring, and therefore this allows him to transform into both Magi Red and Zen Kaiser. And what's interesting is that by using the Zen Kaiser ring, he's also able to access Zen Kaiser Black. So Zen Kaiser has both has two Geartlingers actually, and as Zen Kaiser Black, he's also able to activate the Beam Saber or the Beam Sword modes for both Geartlingers to attack, which is really interesting. However, he suddenly says like time's up and just disappears into a portal and runs away somewhere. So we still don't see. We're still going to see more of they in the future. So this is going to be very much important for Riko's plot. But we also, of course, like Sumino is going to be involved in this as well because of her sister. So we so up until episode 28, so like just last week, right, we see that the universe Senshi transformed into Sentai Reds using silver Tegaswords, but in the movie everyone transforms into Sentai Reds even without the use of the Tegasword, just by using Sentai rings. So from the landlady of Cafe Tegasword, aka Hoeru's apartment, and her son as well, and all of the other movie guests, including Nat, Hotaro, Ichinose, so they all transformed into Universe Senshi just by using their Sentai rings. So again, they does the same. So again, it's gonna be interesting to see like the difference, probably. So the differences between those who use the Tegasword, or rather the silver Tegasword, and people who just transform using Sentai rings. So again, there are still answers to be found there. So now we return to our A plot when Ryugi arrives in time to stop the No One monster from turning Hoeru, Kinjiro, and Sumino into flowers as he did with the other guests. So it was the monster's turn actually. So he tried to put them to sleep, make them feel relaxed, and when they're asleep, they'll be turned into flowers. So that's how the hospitality monster planned to, do his thing. But again, Ryugi stops him in time and wakes up the three other Gozyugers. So, and actually, like they know and understand that Ryugi is actually the best fit for this kind of competition. So Ryugi tries to, use his brand of hospitality to go against the monster of the week. However, he remembers his nightmare and basically flumps at it. So this enrages the monster and basically says like, you know what, let's forget about this thing and go straight into battle, in which they do. And during the battle, Ryugi realizes and remembers why he is, what hospitality really is, and shows the monster what true hospitality is by basically inflating the monster's ego, like making him imagine that the tea room would look much better and hospitable if the monster had put pictures of himself. And the monster agrees, saying that this is true hospitality right here. And Ryugi just proceeds to kick the monster's butt with it. So technically, Ryugi wins and saves the person inside the monster. However, this actually leads to another interesting plot. So back at the beginning of the episode, so we see Ryugi trying to write something, and he actually hands Hoeru a letter of challenge. Now, again, we do understand that this is still a universe battle wherein Sentai heroes, Sentai warriors, if you will, still challenge each other for the Sentai rings, and the Gozyugers aren't an exception. We have seen them fight each other for the rings early on, but having worked together for some time, they have come together as a team. But Mashiro still reminds them of what happens because he has been in that situation before. So basically, what happens is, again, Ryugi issues a challenge to Hoeru, and Hoeru says basically, like, in that state, in that condition of yours, you won't be able to beat me. But Ryugi still challenges, he still wants to push through with the challenge, and Hoeru eventually accepts. So he transforms into Wild Goju Wolf to show that he is serious and he's going all out against Ryugi. Now, Ryugi himself has shown that he is still a worthy opponent, even though, of course, Hoeru is much more powerful at that point. So, when all's said and done, Hoeru uses his finisher to, defeat Ryugi and basically win this match. And as a result, Ryugi does lose the ability to transform into Goju Tirano, and all of the Sentai rings that he has collected now belong to Hoeru as well. Now, what we see, however, is that the Goju Tirano ring suddenly flies off into the sky and actually finds itself a new host. Now, we get to that a bit later. So, basically, what happens is, or at least we realize, or we're made to realize in this episode, that Ryugi senses that there isn't much time left for this battle, and if it goes on for too long without a winner, so the Tegasword will eventually turn to stone again, and who knows what could happen, after that. But he realizes that it's not a good thing to keep this battle on for so long without a clear winner, which is why he basically entrusts Hoeru with winning the number one battle, seeing that Hoeru could be the best fit or something. But yeah, as the main protagonist, so yeah, I would understand if Hoeru is quote unquote the best choice to win this number one battle. But nonetheless, Ryugi does leave Hoeru with, or he entrusts Hoeru with his Sentai rings, but again, the Goju Tirano ring leaves and goes on to find a new host. So Ryugi also leaves the team, and you know, he basically says, like, I would wish for Tegasord to find a worthy partner, if you will, even though if it isn't me, he says. So again, with that message, he leaves the team, and we actually find immediately our new Goju Tirano. So we actually go on to like the preview for episode 30, which would be next week. So we learn that the new Goju Tirano is a man called Asam. So Asam proclaims himself to be a prince from the Tea Planet or something. Now, what is interesting about Asam is that he also appears to be some sort of like rich guy, and considering that we don't really see it much, but we know that Ryugi actually comes from a rich family, as you might see in around episode 13 to 14, when their family's their family's maid comes to, take him back home, and she calls him young master, basically. So again, we have another rich guy as a Goju Tirano, and as the preview for episode 30 shows, he is the second Goju Tirano. Now we go back a couple of episodes to, Mashiro's flashback back when he was still Goju Wolf, and we see that there was also another guy with him. Although unnamed, we understand that this other man is the previous Goju Leon. So we could say that at the time when Mashiro was still Goju Wolf, there was another Goju Leon, but there wasn't a Goju Tyranno just yet. So we really don't know the dynamics of that time when Mashiro was Goju Wolf. But again, uh, the preview for episode 30 says that the next person to become Goju Tyranno is the second guy to do so. Now, another interesting fact about Asam, so the actor who is going to play Asam, aka the second Goju Tyranno, is uh, Hiroki Sasamori. Now, Hiroki Sasamori has been actually in Super Sentai before. So back in Kikai Sentai Zenkaiger, so there was a mini spin-off on uh, Toei Tokusatsu Fan Club, wherein the rest of the Zenkaigers, right? So Juran, Gaon, Majin, and Brune, so they all turn into humans. Now, Hiroki Sasamori played the human form of Zenkai Gaon, or Gaon, basically, if he's untransformed. So, yes, he's been in Super Sentai before. Interestingly, another Yellow Ranger, and another interesting thing is that in Zenkaiger, so Gaon was voiced by Yuki Kaji, and again, right now in Gojuger rather, so Yuki Kaji is the voice of Tegasword. So again, the connections are there. So it is interesting to see uh, like a replacement Yellow Ranger, and that this thing has happened before in the original Go Ranger, right? So at some point, the first Key Ranger leaves the team. There's a second Key Ranger. However, the second Key Ranger dies in battle, so the first Key Ranger has to come back and continue the fight. So we could say that we are going to see Asam temporarily as the Goju Tirano, and at some point he might be defeated, and for some reason Ryugi is chosen once again to become Goju Tirano. So we can expect Ryugi to come back, but I just hope that Asam does provide something interesting, and to differentiate him from Ryugi as a character. So again, I am interested in what Asam could bring to the table as the new Goju Tirano. So, with that said, I'm actually going to give Gojuger episode 29 a 5 Tegasword fingers out of 5. Because, so we see two interesting plots happening. Again, mostly involving Ryugi, but like Day's introduction as a new universe warrior with, like his blank Sentai ring and how he uses it. So it is, you know, an interesting concept, and how he moves Dequo's plot forward is something that I want to see till the end as well. And again, with Ryugi, so I think Ryugi is one of the most interesting characters in Gojuger, and one of the most interesting Yellow Rangers in general, considering his characterization, his background. So I really want to see more of Ryugi in the future. Again, I am hoping that he is I am expecting that he's gonna return some after some episodes. But again, I am interested in also seeing what Asam can do and how different he is from Yugi. So I am interested in watching that. So again, uh, Go Juju episode 29 gets a 5 out of 5. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. And as always, thank you so much for watching. And always make sure to leave a like, comment, share, subscribe, and don't forget that notification bell so you get the latest from JEFusion. Yes, I will use this again. So, anyways, as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take a sword, finish! Bye.